Okay, so we all have one thing in common. We all need to have calories for our daily lives. We all need to intake those in the form of nutrition. Doesn't matter what our goals are, whether those goals are to lose weight, maintain our current weight, gain a little weight, or just live a healthy lifestyle. Okay, it doesn't matter. We just have to have those things for our daily life functions. All right, and we kind of know what things are healthy to eat, what things are not healthy to eat, and we just don't always know exactly how much that stuff we need to eat. Okay, and we don't want to spend the rest of our lives counting calories every day and every meal, but we do want to have an idea at least. So some tools we can have to do that are to know how to calculate those calories. And I've personally done this myself. I needed to lose about 25 pounds at one point in my life. And this was the first step I took into making that successful journey. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. Before we actually calculate how many calories we need to intake, we want to understand what we're talking about here, understand what our calories are. So, what is a calorie? A calorie is a term we use to describe the amount of energy it takes to change the temperature of water by 1 degree Celsius, a kilogram of water. So, to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius, that would be referred to as a calorie. 35 calories is about a pound or so, right? 3,500 calories, excuse me. And then we get those calories from our nutrition intake. So we get about 4 calories per gram of protein, about 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, about 9 calories per gram of fat, and then about 7 per gram of alcohol. All right. So now that we know what a calorie is, we need to talk about the variables that go into calculating that caloric intake. Okay. So some personal variables we need to know before we can start calculating that caloric intake are our age, for the person we're talking about, the gender, and then their body weight. All right, those are the main variables we need to know. So once we have these variables, we can go into calculating what we call our resting energy expenditure. All right, our resting energy expenditure is essentially the amount of calories it takes for our body to perform its basic life functions on a daily basis. All right. So how many calories do we need just to sustain living? So we have some formulas here that help us do that, and we've got these formulas from the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So if a male, right, falls into the 18 to 30-year-old category, so these are broken down by age and then again by sex or gender. So if he falls into the 18 to 30-year-old male category, 6.95, right, times his weight, plus an additional 679 calories will give him his resting energy expenditure, and so on and so forth for the rest of the groups. Now, we don't use this for people under the age of 18 and over the age of 60 because it's just not advised, and we won't go into the reasons why behind that, but just know that. All right, so now that we have our formula, we'll go into an example. We'll talk about how we would do this for actually somebody and put it into use. So let's say we have a 28-year-old male. All right, he weighs about 220 pounds. So we know which he falls into that first category we talked about. So we're going to go ahead and put that information into that algorithm or that equation. So our RAE formula will be 6.95 times 225 pounds for that male, all right, plus that additional 679 calories that we talked about. All right, so for that person, his RAE or resting energy expenditure would be a total of 2,208 calories. All right, that's how many calories he would need to maintain basic life functions. All right. Once we know that, right, we know our RAE now, we need to account for our activity levels and the things we do on a daily basis. All right, and we do know there's a very day-to-day, so we may have to, this total may change, but we need to account for that. So we use our activity multipliers. Again, we got this from the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Very light activity will give us an activity multiplier of 1.3. All right, light activity 1.6. And most people are going to fall in here on a daily basis between very light to light activity. And then it goes all the way up to exceptionally active. All right, so not a lot going on in there unless you're doing some Ironman or something like that. All right, so once we have our RAE and now we know our activity multiplier, how do we figure out that total caloric intake now? So again, we go back to our example. So our example male had the RAE of 2,208 calories that he needed. So now we know we're going to assume that he has a light activity level. We know that based on our previous slide that activity level gives us a multiplier of 1.6. So we have another formula. So we have our REE, multiply that by our activity multiplier, and that'll give us the total caloric intake that person needs for that day. So our example is 2208, and then we times that or multiply that by 1.6, and we have a total caloric need of 3,753 calories for that given day. So based off this equation and the math that we've done, we can make the statement that a 22 or 28-year-old male who is 220 pounds and lightly active needs 3,753 calories for a maintenance on that given day. So now we know what we need to maintain. This could vary if we have different goals, right? So basically, maintenance calories in equal to energy out. Pretty simple. All right. If we want to lose weight, we could go 200 to 300 pounds off of that, right? And then that would give us a caloric deficit. So calories in would be less than the calories we put out, and that's how we would lose that weight. And then further on, if we want to gain weight, we add 200 to 300 calories to that. So now our caloric input is greater than our caloric output, right? And that would give us some weight gain. So to summarize up this as a whole, we learned how to calculate our caloric need, right, based on determining our resting energy expenditure, or REE, right? Then we learned how to estimate the activity level, and then we learned how to adjust that based on goals, right? So based on the goals, we figure what we want to do, and we go from there. All right, a little disclaimer, this information is only foundational. This is not an end-all be-all for every person out there, but it is a good first step, and then those adjustments can be made based on the individual and how they react to certain things. All right? Questions? No, thank you.